How are we doing tonight? Or how are we all doing? So today I wanted to take the time to share just my thoughts on taking a little vial of L-Carnitine. We'll see if we can get that to focus in frame. But that does not look like it's focused in frame. There we go. So this is L-Carnitine. And I just kind of wanted to share my experiences on taking L-Carnitine now that I'm about 30 days into my usage of this consistently, where it would be saturated by any means. And it should be worth noting that the method of consumption in this case is an injection. However, you could take this orally. However, you would want to keep in mind that the bioavailability of L-Carnitine orally is about 10 to 16%, I think, of the alternate methods of taking it in. And I think it is worth noting too that you would want to take something with, I believe it's album, or you would want to take it with like garlic or another anti-inflammatory, as there is TMAO conversion that can occur when you are taking it orally, which could have some negative side effects, including increased levels of inflammation, which is just no bueno. So with that being said, I'll take a sip of the beverage and we'll dive into my thoughts on taking L-Carnitine. I'm not going to discuss my dosages of it, just because this is prescribed to me under my treatment from Embark Health, and it is from Empower Pharmacy, actually. So it's not like I'm getting it somewhere online. However, with that being said, it should be prescribed to you by a physician, but if you don't want to have it prescribed by a physician or you want to go through outside sources, there are several places online that you could buy it. However, I cannot condone the usage of that or push that out there necessarily at this time. But with that being said, why am I personally taking L-Carnitine? Well, I've been feeling suboptimal for the last, few months, at least since I've graduated college, and even when I was still in college, I felt pretty run down and pretty beat up. So I ended up running some blood work through Embark Health, and in turn, I got my blood test results back, and my lipid paneling was a little bit off, so was my hormonal paneling. So it was discussed with Embark Health under the provision of my provider that I would be taking L-Carnitine. I don't know why that is adjusting like that in the lights, but that I would be taking L-Carnitine to aid in the metabolic recovery of my systems and help bring down those lipid levels, as it just can aid in the oxidation of fatty acids in the body when doing stuff like cardio. So we've increased the quantity of zone 2 cardio that I am performing throughout the given week, just to kind of give myself hopefully better odds at having a less suppressed hormonal system. So with that being said, we're looking at injecting 5 to 7 times per week. For me, I do it on days where I'm going to do cardio and aim for about the 30 to 45 minute prior to doing 30 to 45 minute window prior to doing cardio, just so I can let it get into my system and start taking effects necessarily before doing it. But if you needed to take it earlier or sooner, it should be fine. Today's beverage is Trader Joe's sparkling orange water. But I do think it is worth noting that all of the findings in this video are going to be anecdotal, as I have not done my next round of blood work that will occur closer to the 90-day mark to see what effects using injectable L-Carnitine has had on my personal system. But prior to getting into that, I think it is worth discussing the consumption methods of L-Carnitine in this instance, and just kind of the procedure behind doing it, just so there is some increased awareness of what is happening. So this is a 1/2 inch insulin pin with 100 IU capacity. And for this one, we're looking at putting our dosage inside of here. And then for L-Carnitine, it is a intramuscular pin. So it is a deeper pin or a deeper injection than something that would be subcutaneous. So for this one, you're probably going to be going the full distance of the needle in and then probably burying it just a little bit more in order to get to the muscle, or to make sure that you're perfectly seated inside of the muscle. For this one, the recommended areas, at least for me personally, would be my delts, or it would be ventrogluteal. Personally, I do ventrogluteal just because I think it's easier positioning, and I think it would be awkward to kind of go for the delt because I am right-handed. Then that's kind of only giving me one arm to do everything with, versus this one going ventrogluteal. You can actually do the Z-track method of injections, where you're using that second hand to kind of pull down on some of the skin. You're doing the injection, and then you're letting it just kind of sit and saturate for a little bit of time, 10 seconds about. And then as you're removing the needle itself, then you can actually release tension that's pulling it down, which in form kind of does like what gives it the Z track, or it offsets this one and minimizes any chance of squeeze out or bleeding. But with that being said, how do I feel after taking L-Carnitine for approximately 30 days now? Well, I think when it comes to cardio, I think there are some noticeable benefits in terms of energy and how my body is processing energy. So what I mean by I'm seeing benefits in terms of energy is when I am performing cardio, I feel like sustained zone 2 cardio, there is no issue going 30, 45, 50, even an hour. My preferred method of cardio in this instance is doing stair stepper, where we're looking at, it's very easy just to hammer out 100 flights at a zone 2 pace. It's easy to do over 100 flights or about the Mantoux incline. Even that has been pretty sustainable in zone 2 continuously. So that is rather beneficial. And then when I look at anecdotal findings within physique and what I can see, I do feel like despite weight staying kind of constant where it's at, I do feel like there is a little bit of a benefit in what I am seeing, where it does look like there is some reduction or recomposition of my physique. Additionally, one of the benefits of L-Carnitine that we are looking to use it for, however, the main one is the fatty acid oxidation. One of the benefits that we are looking at it for is the upregulation of androgen receptor density. Because when we did my blood work, my testosterone levels were quite low. They were in the higher end of the 200 spectrum, which for those of you who don't know, hormonal profiling, especially for someone in their 20s, that is rather low. You know, you'd want to be in like the 500 to 600 range is average, and sub 300 is considered low. So obviously it's not optimal, especially considering that we are a natural person that has taken no exogenous hormones. There's no reason for the levels to be that low. But the usage of L-Carnitine does help upregulate the density of androgen receptors, which is just a fancy word of saying whatever testosterone your body is producing, if you increase the density of the receptors, there's a higher chance that testosterone will actually be picked up and used by the androgen receptors, instead of just remaining kind of, you know, unbound to any receptor where it can't be utilized by the body. That is probably the least scientific explanation of what upregulation of androgen receptor density is, but that is one of the things that we have noticed, or that we are using it for in this case. And then when we look at the side effects of L-Carnitine usage, for that it's been relatively minimal, just because there is not a lot of side effects associated with this one. One of the ones that would be a concern if you're taking it orally would be the conversion to TMAO, which would increase levels of inflammation throughout the body, I believe, and that could be avoided by taking other items. But some of the other side effects that can occur are upset stomach, nausea, you know, the usual gambit of anything. And then the only other notable one that is unique to L-Carnitine in this case is it can actually alter your sweat, so it just smells a little off, or it smells a little weird. But guess what? If you're showering regularly and you're using stuff like deodorant, you're fine. I've got deodorant literally right there. Just make sure you use it daily, make sure you're staying up on it, and then generally it's not an issue with the sweat if you are having your sweat scent altered. Can't really say that I've noticed my sweat scent being altered, but I think it's definitely not out of the question of something that could occur. So with that being said, I'm definitely looking forward to using L-Carnitine for the next 60 days left in this vial, and I think even after that 90-day period of using it through Merrick Health and after our blood work is performed, I think this is something that I would like to keep inside of my rotation and doing injections of it probably instead of taking it orally. But it's definitely not something that I'm concerned about. The only concern when starting usage of it, which stopped being a concern after a certain point, was when you drew your first dosage and you've never injected anything before. Just like looking at it, and especially like, you know, knowing that you have to pin your glute and never having pinned before, you just kind of look at it and you really question your life. And you just question everything, because it's definitely a different game when it's someone untrained in giving injections doing the injection, instead of someone that's like given hundreds of shots before, like with your flu shot or when you're getting your blood drawn from a doctor. That was probably the biggest concern and the biggest scare, was just, this is something that I have to do to myself. However, after like 3-4 pins, guess what? It really wasn't that bad. And you know, there's not too many concerns as long as you're sterilizing this prior to usage, you're sterilizing the area prior to usage, and you're using a new clean injection every single time. There's not really any concern behind it, in my opinion. There is always the chance of a pin going wrong or a infection happening. However, the odds are relatively low if you clean, maintain, and keep all working surfaces clean. But with that being said, I definitely think if you're looking to you know, increase the ease of doing your cardio, looking at increasing the oxidation of fatty acids, if you want to upregulate and hopefully use more of your bioavailable testosterone, then I would look into adding L-Carnitine into your own personal protocols, you know, orally or injectably. Please talk to a physician prior to usage, as that's not something that I can weigh into, but it is something that I would recommend looking into if it is something that interests you. And I don't have any concerns about it at this time, but please do your own research. Ask any questions that you might have down below. And with that being said, hope you guys have a great night. Sorry for rambling about L-Carnitine for about like 12 minutes. Also, it should be worth saying, if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and check out one of the other videos that will be recommended here or here. And if you enjoyed the video or the content or anything that I did, feel free to drop a like or subscribe to the video. Check out V1 Nutra for any supplements, protein down below. But with that being said, hope you guys have a great day.